Welcome to Dave Talks Ball in this January 6th, 2025 episode, folks. I appreciate you joining us. And actually, we were rebranded here. Dave Knows Ball. Again, if y'all know me, all jokes aside, I can't stand on social media. So if you want to come tweet at me, it's all fun. Seriously, it is. I can't stand the term ball knower or non-ball knower, because I've noticed on Twitter, most of the time the people that are saying that are the non-ball knowers and don't know ball. It's funny how that kind of works out. So we thought we'd rebrand. Kind of funny if you've been following the show, because I give people hell for saying that a lot on all our live shows and stuff with Chris and Cole. But I am Dave Shumate here on Dave Knows Ball. Appreciate you joining us. The first episode of the 2025 calendar year. And I'll be honest with you guys, we're gonna get right into the nitty-gritty quickly. But the wild thing to me is this is a potential phenomenal, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. 6 out of the next 7 days are phenomenal day for sports. SEC aside here. I mean, we're an SEC channel. Don't get me wrong. The best SEC entity on the web. Football, basketball, baseball. Put us up against anybody. But tomorrow, SEC basketball, 5 matchups. Wednesday, SEC basketball, 3 matchups. Be on the lookout for the Shoney ball, folks. Thursday, that's your break. That's your break. Go get your training. Do what you got to do to get your body right. Friday, we got college football playoffs, Cotton Bowl. Saturday, we got college football playoffs, Orange Bowl. We got NFL playoffs. Sunday, we got NFL playoffs. Monday, we got NFL playoffs. Just all aside, a phenomenal 6 days out of the next 7, out of the next week. Just phenomenal across the board. Couldn't ring it in better. I'm glad to be back, guys. Took about a 2-week hiatus just because back and forth for the Christmas holidays. Want to produce quality content for you guys. I don't just want to come on here and just pick. I think everybody needed a little bit of that just break right there to get us going. But hey, let's rehash. We're rebranded. Let's get right to it, folks. Let's get right to it. And we got a couple of things we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about keys to the Cotton Bowl. We're going to get right to it. The Texas-Ohio State matchup. We're going to get right to that one. And then we're going to talk a little SEC basketball weekend review. Again, I'll put the video, my reaction from Saturday night, in the comments. I'll put it in there just so you can go back and watch it. Couple thousand views already on that one. Go check it out. That's instant raw reaction from Saturday's matchups, all 8 Saturday's matchups. That will be a little bit more in depth. We'll still talk about some scores, the keys to those games and whatnot. We'll talk a little John Calipari, talking about missing the shoot around in Knoxville for their early 11 a.m. Eastern tip. They just got blistered in. I'll give you my SEC basketball power rankings. We'll talk midweek basketball preview and picks. Not everything's so bad in T-Town. I know they took a big loss to Michigan in the ReliaQuest Bowl, but Todd got some good news from returners this past week, so that's good. Ryan Grubb fired from Seattle today, potentially Alabama. We'll briefly discuss that. Georgia 2025, adding some guys, losing some guys. This time next year, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Does the SEC have a coordinator problem? I don't really think it's a problem. Maybe it's the wrong way to phrase it, but I just want to get y'all's opinion on this. Just from an SEC standpoint, we don't have the old coordinators we used to have, the Jimbo Fishers, the Kirby Smarts. It's more of a young, especially these offensive head coaches that still call their plays. But let's get to it, guys. Keys to the Cotton Bowl. And before we get going, I got to give a shout out to our RHOBACK sponsor. I feel embarrassed if I didn't give them the shout out because I just got a couple of their new pants in today. So go to RHOBACK.com and use code SECU for 20% off your first purchase, folks. First purchase. I got my mother-in-law on that. She kept trying to use it multiple times. I said, Miss Kate, it's 20% off your first purchase. So make sure it's your first purchase. Don't keep trying to renew it over. I had a buddy I gave 20% off to the Game Time app the other day, and he was mad. He thought it should have been 30%. Ungrateful people these days, guys. But you know who's not ungrateful? Our buddies over at RHOBACK, and especially when you tell them your buddies over at SEC Unfiltered sent you. Again, go to RHOBACK.com. Use code SECU for 20% off your first purchase. Let's get to it. Keys to the Cotton Bowl. Let's dig deep. Let's dig deep here, folks. What do we got here? At AT&T Stadium, the Cotton Bowl, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Ohio State, the 8 seed, comes in facing Texas, the 5 seed. Ohio State favored by 5.5. The point total on this one, folks, 53.5. First thing kind of keys that come to mind here. Let's get right to it. Texas offensive line has to hold up. I know that sounds just, no kidding, Dave. The offensive line has to hold up. Yeah, we're really splitting atoms here, guys. Brain surgery. No. My main thing is here, Jim Knowles. really good defensive coordinator for Ohio State. I've kind of been fired up, salivating to watch this game a little bit. I looked ahead when I saw the playoffs announced that Sunday, and I was like, Texas has probably the best matchup advantage until they get to the semifinals. I mean, granted, Clemson played well. Arizona State, we saw go into overtime. So maybe that was a little off. But I want to see how Jim Knowles, the Ohio State defense coordinator, attacked the Steve Sarkisian offense at Texas. My main point here is what I get into before being long-winded. Can Jim Knowles and them just rush 4 to get home? Can they bring Jack Sawyer? Can they bring Ty Hamilton? Can they bring Tyleek Williams? Can they bring JT Tuimoloau? Like that, just can they win with 4? If that's the case, I'd be live betting the hell out of Ohio State in this one. I mean, this could get ugly if that's the case. I mean, you say that about a lot of football games. But if Ohio State is getting home and affecting Quinn Ewers while it only bringing 4, that and they're able to drop 7 other guys. That's I don't know. Quinn Ewers, I say it all the time. We'll get to it in a minute, but a lot of things got to be perfect. The picture's got to be perfect. Can't be scribbling out of lines too much with Quinn Ewers. Next, defensive line has to own the game. Before we go, this will not be a prediction, folks. I'll give you my prediction on Thursday's episode, the night before, actually. So I'm actually fired up for that one. Again, let me put it in the comments here at the end of this segment here. I'll put our preview, the Texas Ohio State preview we did yesterday, myself, Chris Phillips, and Cole Thompson. That's the really good one, in-depth one. I'll give you mine on Thursday. But these are just the kind of the 4 to 5 keys to victory that I think we need to talk about. Defensive line has to own the game here for Texas. I think this is Texas's advantage in the game, if we're being honest. I think Texas can have a real advantage in this game across the board here because I think the defensive line has been one of the more consistent units in the sport. I mean, Barron Sorrell, Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton, Trey Moore, those guys can have some kind of impact. And again, the right tackle, even in the Tennessee game, I believe it was Josh Fryer. Y'all tell me if I'm wrong. Any Ohio State fans listening, welcome to the SEC Unfiltered channel. Hopefully we get a lot of these matchups down the line, guys. SEC, Big Ten, you are coming back to us. We welcome you to the party. I know Ohio State fans do not like my guy, Cole Thompson, right now. Again, Ryan Day is no longer the most disliked guy in Ohio, for the people who can't spell that out. That's the great state of Ohio. There's no one more disliked right now in the state of Ohio than our guy, the Houston's mayor, Cole Thompson, is not liked right now there. And Ohio State fans are invading his state. It would shock me if we have a 30 for 30 one day. I mean, it's breaking out on social media if you hadn't had a chance to go check it out. Go check it out, SEC Unfiltered. We quote tweeted it. We're getting after it now. Again, it's the Bear versus the Buckeyes, folks. If you follow us here, you know what I mean. But I think Texas has an advantage here across the board here. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, Ohio State fans. Josh Fryer, the redshirt senior, was banged up going into the Tennessee game, the first playoff game. And again, still playing with a backup center. He's played fine. Carson Hinsman has played fine so far in the first 2 games. But do they start missing Seth McLaughlin in this one? That'll be interesting there. Again, I think it's kind of battle on mano a mano from the skill position standpoint. Jeremiah Smith, Cornell Tate, Emeka Egbuka. I mean, we already know about Texas's. Jide Barron, Michael Taft at the safety spot will be covering in there. You got Andrew McCubo's all over the place. This is mano a mano, best versus best outside of the skill. But no, I think Texas can take advantage of this. I'll be interested in what Pete Kwiatkowski can draw up here from that perspective of, hey, I think this is in our favor, guys. Let's disguise some stuff. Let's get Will Howard off his landmark. Let's get him uncomfortable early. Let's get something going. Something's got to happen for us quick. Maybe a quick turnover. We can get some. I think Texas, again, in the beginning of the games hadn't been bad for Texas. As we saw, they scored, in 2 plays right out of the gate, almost blocked a punt out of the gate against Arizona State. It's always that lull. But I think specifically in this one, got to start fast. I think the defensive line could really help you out there. And it leads to this, affect Will Howard. I mean, that's really what's going to happen. Affect Will Howard. And that doesn't mean the sack numbers, folks. Nick Saban says it all the time. Affecting the quarterback doesn't mean sacks. That means just you're in his face. You're making him uncomfortable. You're by his feet. Again, you talk to any quarterback. I worked in college football for 9 years. You talk to any quarterback. They hate the interior pressure more than the edge pressure. Because, again, you can chip a tight end. You can have a running back out there. If he's pushing your center and your guards back into you and he's on your feet, quarterbacks don't like that. They don't like that. This is where I think Vernon Broughton and Alfred Collins are going to have to win. I think if you tell me Texas is going to win this game, and again, my prediction's already out there if you want to go see. From the Texas-Ohio State preview you already have out there on the SEC Unfiltered channel. Go like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, guys. The road to 20K. But my point being, I think I would circle back and make Vernon Broughton, Alfred Collins out of Bill Day, maybe even Bill Norton, throw him in there. The interior of that defensive line is going to have to make Will Howard uncomfortable, similar to what Michigan did. They're not that good, but they're good. So, I mean, I think affecting Will Howard, and then finally, I've said it. I don't even really believe it. Texas is going to have to run the football to win this game, and our guy right here just said it. I appreciate Preston Shea watching. Preston Shea out here. Texas has to be able to run the ball. The guys they've lost or struggled in, the games they've lost or struggled in, they couldn't run it. He's 100% right. He came back third quarter, needs to be even. Agree. He's 100% right on this, folks. And sorry I didn't show you that earlier there. I just wanted to save it for this part because I knew we were going to come back to the run game. If Texas gets the outside zone game running, the run game going, it's phenomenal. Just the way this Ohio State defense has been playing, though, with Jim Knowles, Caleb Downs and the boys, I mentioned the front. If they can't get this run game going and Sark's got to be perfect. Because, again, I don't think Quinn Ewers is a great anticipatory thrower. He doesn't anticipate. He doesn't throw people open through windows. The play's got to be designed perfectly. So if you take away the run game, which if I'm Jim Knowles, I'm watching Texas, that's the recipe to get them very uncomfortable. Texas's first 25 to 30 scripted plays, folks. And if people aren't really familiar, every staff coach has that offensively. I worked with Gus Malzahn. Lane Kiffin has it. Most of these dudes come out here with a scripted 25-30. It's your best. It's bullets. It's stuff they haven't prepared for all week. But after about that, you get settled into the meat and the potatoes of the offense. And that's where kind of the game's won. So take away the first couple plays for Texas when they settle in. When that foundation of that house of this game like settles in and Texas can't run the football, smells trouble, because I think it's a lot of pressure to put on Steve Sarkisian to paint a perfect picture over and over and over again for Quinn Ewers. I think Quinn Ewers is a good college football quarterback. He's won in Tuscaloosa. He's won in Ann Arbor. He's won in games. He's played in big games, played in an SEC championship game, played in a college football playoff game last year in the Sugar Bowl against Washington. He's played in big games. He's seen about as much as you can. He's played in a Big 12 title game. I think when the weight of the world and on the team, this is when superstars, this is when we start separating the Joe Burrows, the Cam Newtons of the world. I don't think any Texas fans are thinking Quinn Ewers on that level. I think most of them will agree with that. If you have to put the whole game on his back, I don't think you can do it because it puts a lot of pressure on Sark and that offensive staff to call perfect plans. And sometimes, guys, it comes down to the Jimmies and Joes, not the X's and O's. Your player has to go make a play. It's mano a mano. It's going to be, hey, does Jeremiah Smith go make a play over Janae Barron? Does Isaiah Bond go make a play for Denzel Burke down the line? I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about here, guys. At some point, your guy has to go be better than their guy on that specific play. Just is what it is. But I just wanted to get into that a little bit briefly, some matchups. I'll give you my full game prediction. Let me actually pull up the preview right here, folks. Sorry, I was going to pull it. I'm putting it in the comments so the people that don't know already. There we go. It may come in 3 different ones. Yeah, from my Twitter account, Mock10 Sports, that's me. SEC Unfiltered, SEC Unfiltered. We're all synced to this live stream, so that's why it's going to throw in there. I apologize for that, for overloading the chat room in there, folks. But that's the Ohio State, Texas Cotton Bowl preview right there. Go like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, guys. That is phenomenal content. That is where Cole the Bear Thompson is getting into it with the Buckeye fans right now. But let's move on. We're actually moving on to the hardwood, folks. I wanted to talk about it's the only SEC team left. So we got a great game coming up on Friday night. I'll give you the full game prediction on Thursday nights on Dave Knows Ball. But if you can't wait, go check out our full prediction for myself, Chris Phillips, and Cole Thompson. SEC basketball weekend review, folks. Let's get to it. Again, we're not going to go fully in depth, guys, because, again, I'll go put that video. Actually, let me go put that video in there as well just before we start, just so people Let's go put that live reaction from Saturday in there as well, just so you have that in there. Here we go. Put it in there. Then you have it. It's going to come 3 more times. So, there we go, guys. So, right off the bat, you have Tennessee. This is the game we're talking about. John Calipari gets the 76-52 win over Arkansas. Just pure dominant performance here. I mean, Cal even brought it up. He'd never been out-rebounded as bad as they had in that one. I mean, that's the thing that stands out there. 51-29 rebound advantage for Rick Barnes and the boys. I mean, that's what they do. That's Tennessee's MO, especially at home. The refs kind of allow Tennessee's style to play, especially at home. And you can say that a lot about basketball games. I mean, yeah, the home team kind of gets to affect the style of play. I think this is for sure true with Tennessee a little bit. It's a little bit of a hockey game there, but hey, that's the advantage. They play like that. Big win for Rick Barnes, them right out of the gate. Cal and them just looked sluggish. Again, this was 11 a.m. Central Standard Time Zone. And this brings me to my point here. This is what he said. Where is it? Here it is. This is what John Calipari said after the game about they didn't do a shoot-around that morning. For people who don't know, shoot-around a couple hours before tip. Again, they'll do it the night before games too because these teams come in the night before just to get familiar with the rim, the arena, the depth perception. I mean, you play basketball. I mean, you like to get some shots in before that. But he said they didn't do a shoot-around that morning. And again, this game was at 11 a.m. Central Eastern, so it's an early game. But quote from John Calipari, post-game after the Tennessee loss, we didn't do a shoot-around today. If I had to do it over again, we would have. We had 3 or 4 guys basically no-show. Basically, the guys slept, had breakfast, and never really, Arkansas scored a season low, 52 points in today's 24-point loss. So, I mean, take it for what it is from that perspective, folks. I mean, is this a big deal or not a big deal to Arkansas fans? Listen, I think it's going to probably be a little overblown. Again, you got to factor in, it's kind of like, it's like when I worked college football, these noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central kicks. It's like, do you let them sleep in a little bit or do you wake them up earlier to get them going? Like, remember LSU played Mississippi State 2 years ago and we're going to Starkville. They stopped halfway on the bus trip from Columbus to let them get out and stretch their legs just to wake up a little bit. It's a little different. We know in these early games, I get it. This is going to be overblown. Look, Tennessee played really well. Arkansas, did it probably help that they played this bad, that they didn't shoot, that they didn't have a shoot around? No, it definitely didn't help. It's not the reason why they lost. Like, come on, guys. It's a spade to spade. So I think it's a little overblown. Not probably the best comment to say. I mean, he mentioned we had a couple no-shows, and he didn't mean – I saw some people thinking, did they no-show to the shoot-around? No, they no-showed in the game is what he meant. They thought that may have had something to do with it there. But Tennessee gets the 76-52 win. Auburn gets the 84-68 win over Missouri. I actually took Missouri in this 18.5, and we barely made it, folks. We made it, though. We made it. We covered it. It did not feel like that. It did not feel like that. I feel like I didn't cover it until the very end. You can ask my guy, Chris Phillips. We were talking about it on the phone. We were sweating it out. But no, Auburn dominates this game. I mean, Auburn's going to be a total you-know-what to win at, a BITCH to win at on the road in Neville. I mean, they are. It's going to be a pain in the ass to win in Neville this year, and we know that. I mean, it is what it is. Missouri's not a bad basketball team. I mean, Missouri has a win over Kansas, a close loss to Memphis. They should have won. Illinois, a top 10 team, they took down to the wire. Now this is their third loss to Auburn. No shame in that. Dennis Gates' team is solid this year. They need to get a win this week against LSU. Auburn will head to Austin next. Auburn, I mean, just at home, 84-68. I mean, it's always somebody else each night at the guard spot. It's either Denver Jones to Hod Pettiford, Miles Kelly. It's always Janai Broom. And I think they have one of the more improved players in the sport from his role that no one talks about in Chaney Johnson. But Auburn gets the 84-68 win. Alabama gets the 107. The 107, freaked out over there for a 79 win. This is the most dominant performance of, I would say, the day. Again, we had 3 SEC teams coming in undefeated. Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Arkansas. Only one still stands. That's the Volunteers. That'll be put to the test tomorrow in Gainesville, though, by the way, folks. We'll have those predictions in a minute. But I think Oklahoma is definitely improved. They're not probably in that bottom quadrant that we thought, myself included, going into the season. But they're still not as good. You can tell Jeremiah Fears, the true freshman, was kind of shell-shocked at the beginning. I mean, Alabama was throwing Modi a body at him, Jared Stevenson, just different bodies to defend him. He only had 1 point at half. Give him credit. He came out and had double figures in the second half. Showed a mature player. Alabama, though, still shoots 31% from beyond the arc. They're average. I just don't think they're a great three-point shooting team right now. It may get up to the 35-point range. Probably not what we were thinking in the 38-point range, but still 107 points shows you how good that system is. Alabama just under the radar, if you want to say it, about a top 5 team. They are probably the most underrated top 5 team in the sport, if you want to be completely honest. I mean, I say in the sport, I should say, totally true. They're probably the most underrated top 10 team in the sport. They're kind of just creeping by. People are disappointed because they thought they were going to be real dominant, kind of like what Auburn. They thought they would be like Auburn, but Alabama's only accumulated 2 losses. At Purdue, no shame in that. And then a buzzer beater, essentially, to right now the Big Ten favorite in Oregon. Nothing to be ashamed about that. Alabama hitting their stride right now at conference play. It seems like Nate Oates does that every year. I'm telling you, the guys got the NCAA tournament formula down to a T. Schedule hard, test your team, play against different styles, stress the hell out of your team, and collect some wins and Give them credit, man. Alabama gets a dominant 107-79 win over Oklahoma. Kentucky, Florida. Kentucky gets the 106-100 win over Florida. Both teams hit triple digits. This is probably the most fun, one of the more fun games of the day. We had some blowouts, but one of the more fun games of the day across the board here. Both teams shot lights out. I see some people being like, was this bad defense or good offense? Yeah, it was good offense, folks. I'll tell you. That was good offense. But, man, Florida's guards are good, folks. Walter Clayton, Will Richard, Elijah Martin can score at any moment. Kentucky, when they're shooting like that's going to be hard to beat. Just what's the floor of that team? I'm interested this Saturday. And I'll tell you, I'm even interested tomorrow when they go to Athens. Back-to-back road games in this league. I'll say this. I'll be a little shocked if they come home from those back-to-back road trips if they're 2-0 this week. Just put it that way. But Kentucky gets a big win. Kentucky, Mark Pope and them have some phenomenal wins over Duke, Florida. Give them credit. They're much more improved than people thought going into this league, myself included. So Big Blue Nation, they got it going with their guy, Mark Pope. Florida, I don't feel any different after seeing Florida. So I still think it's a potential Elite Eight Final Four team. They got a big one tomorrow, though. You can't start 0-2 and compete in this league. Just unfortunately for Florida, your first two conference games are at Kentucky and Tennessee at home. And Tennessee is the only undefeated team left in the league and currently ranked number 1. So that'll be probably the most fun matchup of the midweek. Texas A&M gets an 80-60 win over in-state rival Texas in the Lone Star State Showdown. This game was tied at half, but, man, the two transfers they brought in for Texas A&M, Pharrell? Yeah, Pharrell Payne and Zurich Phelps from SMU are big. 18 points for Phelps, 15 points for Payne. Wade Taylor does his thing. Again, it kind of gets a little bit of the Wade Taylor show. 13 points, 4 for 12, 1 for 7 behind the arc. And they're a better offensive rebounding team than they are a defensive rebounding team. But Texas A&M, they're going to, again, it's going to be hard to win road games this league. Again, home teams are 7-1 on Saturday. I'll be interested to see how it shapes up midweek. Texas, they put too much pressure on Trey Johnson. Only scored 11 points, 2 for 13 from the field, 0 for 5 from beyond the arc. And then it's just Arthur Kaluma, 13.7 boards in the front court. Caden Shedrick has brought nothing to the table. Has brought nothing to the table in them. I don't think Texas is very good, guys. Hey, free money for people listening. Take Auburn -10 tomorrow. I know it's at the Moody. I know it's at the house Matthew McConaughey built, but I'm telling you, take. Oh, yeah, I'm looking it up right now. Auburn -10 right now. I would take that. We'll talk that in a little bit. But A&M gets the 160 win. Not high on Texas right now, folks. Mississippi State gets a dominant 85-50 win over South Carolina. Josh Hubbard does Josh Hubbard things. And then the Claudell kid stepped up from it. Claudell Harris stepped up 17 points, 7 for 10 from beyond the arc, 50%, or 7 for 10 from the field, 3 for 6 from beyond the arc, 50% from beyond the arc. Does a good job. Cam Matthews played. He was banged up a little bit. Really impressed with Mississippi State there. They got a lot more help outside of Josh Hubbard. I don't think South Carolina could have played any worse. Colin Murray-Bull is their best player, do it all. 5 points, only 10 boards. Not only, I should say. 5 points, but 2 for 9 from the field, 1 for 2 from beyond the arc. That's not going to get it done. They come back home and face Alabama this week. I think we're going to get maybe the South Carolina team that beat Clemson. We're going to get closer to that team. Their first home SEC opener. Bama better watch out. I don't think they will lose, but they better watch out. You're not going to get the 50-point South Carolina team, I think, this week. I just don't think you're going to get that team for Alabama. So you better be careful. Mississippi State's got a big one at Memorial against Vanderbilt. We'll see about that one. But Mississippi State looks really good right now. I think they're trying to lock in that top 4 to 5 seed in the NCAA tournament, top 6 seed in the SEC as we keep rolling. Moving to the next game from the weekend, Ole Miss beats Georgia 63-51. Low-scoring game, one of Georgia's worst offensive output, overall output, performance, really, if we want to be completely honest. Georgia shot 29% from the field, 11% from 3. We had 3 teams on Saturday shoot 11% or worse. It was South Carolina, Georgia. Was it A&M? Somebody like that off the top of my head. Was it 11% or worse from beyond the arc? Ole Miss at home, this was a good bounce back spot after that Memphis game. They kind of got embarrassed by Memphis the week before, kind of got their manhood tested a little bit. I liked it. That's why I liked Ole Miss in this game. Georgia still don't feel much different about them. They probably won't shoot 29% from the field and 11% from 3 most nights. They're just not. I don't see a guy like, where's my guy right there? Dakota LaFew shooting that. LaFew was 1 for 5 from the other. He's normally better than that. So is Tyler Lawrence. So is Blue Kane. I like this team. They have some young guys, Asa Newell, Silas Demery. They're going to go as far as those guys. A young team went into their real kind of first SEC road environment. It didn't go well. It shows you how tough this league is. They get Big Blue Nation tomorrow. Ole Miss heads to Fayetteville against a desperate Arkansas team after the beatdown they got in Fayetteville. So that'll be interesting from that perspective there. Going to the next one. Again, guys, I put the recap in there. I'm not going full in depth because, again, guys, it's Monday. You know what happened. I don't want to waste too much of your time. If you want to see the full live reaction from Saturday night, I put it in the comments. Or if you could, for some reason it's not pulling up on your end, as it should, though, go to SECunfiltered.com on YouTube. I mean, it's God's way of telling you. You need to go like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. The road to 20,000 before the national championship game, guys, and that'll be on January 20th. But the final game we got to take a look at. Vanderbilt, the only road team to get a win, to get an 80-72 win at the Pete Maravich Assembly Center in Baton Rouge. It was Cam Carter bust for LSU. And, man, Mark Byington's first year, the Commodores are 13-1, rolling in 1-0, have a big win that they're favored in. I think they're favored by 1.5 tomorrow against Mississippi State, which will be interesting from that perspective. It's Tyler Tanner does a really good job of not turning the basketball over. This team's kind of got a bunch of guys that kind of fit into their role. A.J. Hogarth, traditionally a Tom Izzo guy, was in the Michigan State program for a while. He saved them the other night. Older guys, played a bunch of tough physical basketball games. 17 points, 6 of 14 from the field, 2 of 5. I like what Vanderbilt's doing. I like what they're doing. I want to pick them to win a game. I'm kind of cheating on who I'm going to pick in this game coming up. But they moved up in the power rankings. And speaking of the power rankings, folks, let's bring it up. It got released today on the SEC Unfiltered social media accounts. You lucky dogs got a sneak preview. But again, I'm not going to go long-winded in this. You can kind of tell how I feel about a lot of these teams. But let's go 16 through 1. 16, South Carolina. Is there really much of an argument here, folks? Let's call a spade here. I would love to hear if there's any arguments in the comments or anything. I mean, I don't think there is, but I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I think it'd be interesting to see what South Carolina would look like in the ACC. That's what I would like to say right there. What would they look like in the ACC? Would they finish in the top 5, 6? I don't know. I mean, I think that's a little bit of a stretch. The power rankings tweeting this out. Yeah, but I mean, so they got to come in at 16. Number 15, LSU. I don't think they're that much more in front of South Carolina, if I'm being honest, folks. I don't think they're that much more in front of South Carolina, if I'm being completely honest here. I mean, Jalen Reed went down. Then goes Cam Carter goes. As the league continues to pick up, I mean, how many more wins they get? They almost have to win against Missouri. I mean, they really do. I think after that, they get Ole Miss. So I actually want to look it up, LSU basketball schedule. I was looking at it today. I don't want to quote you and be wrong. It would be – so it's at Missouri, and they go at Ole Miss, Arkansas at home, at A&M, Bama, and Auburn. Missouri's almost a must-win, and I don't think they're going to get it. I think the battle for that last spot is going to be between LSU and South Carolina all year. They're coming in at number 14, Texas. Again, I told you I wasn't very high on the Horns. Wasn't very high on it. I think they put too much on Trey Johnson's shoulder. I mentioned Quinn Ewers earlier. He couldn't handle it. Trey Johnson can't handle it. And then no one's helping Arthur Kaluma in the front court. I mean, you just stop Trey Johnson, there goes a lot of the scoring because I don't see a lot of consistent scoring from Jordan Pope, if I'm being honest, the Oregon State transfer. Number 13, I don't really like them being this low, but I don't know. I think this is where they got to be right now. After the Auburn, because the Auburn, it's tough to judge them after going to Neville Arena, probably arguably a top 2 to 3 place to play in the country, if not number 1 right now, and expect. I mean, you covered, but again, you were down from 20 to 30 most of that game. That's coming from somebody who took Missouri plus 18.5. They're an improved team, rebounding though. They'll get whipped on the board. So they forced a lot of turnovers. I kind of like what Dennis Gates and them doing. They're going to be sitting on that bubble most of the year. Mark Byington and them, the Commies, the Commodores. A lot of the Commodore fans giving me a lot of hell. What's his name? Oric Goldfinger, I think was one of his names. Again, love the Vanderbilt listeners. They're right where they need to be right now. Big game tomorrow against Mississippi State at home. Big game tomorrow against Mississippi State at home. You heard me. I'm going to repeat it. Big game tomorrow against Mississippi State. Vanderbilt starts off 2-0 in league play, folks. We're going to have to start looking. I think this Mississippi State team coming in is a 4 to 5 seed in the tournament right now. But Vanderbilt's kind of putting this puzzle piece together, and it's like, is it ever just going to just divide up and go its separate ways, or it's going to kind of stay together like it has been already. I mean, it may be a terrible analogy. Just kind of sitting here on this live and just thinking about it. I got Vanderbilt 12. I think that's about right now. Oklahoma took their first loss again. I mean, the net rankings don't really like them either. They're in the 40s. I mean, Oklahoma's much improved, but they're still a flawed team. I think it's a big game for them against Texas A&M, hosting them on Wednesday night. Can't get too far behind. And I know they should be safe by what they did in non-conference play. Their best win was Michigan. Phenomenal game, by the way. You can't start collecting a bunch of conference losses. You really can't. Again, I think Oklahoma's much improved. I like them to be an NCAA tournament team as of now. But be careful. Someone's going to slide in this league once conference play really starts to. They're a team that's a potential candidate. Number 10, Georgia. Again, I think it's just a bad shooting night. I don't want to punish them too much. I want to see how they play Kentucky tomorrow. I think y'all may be surprised by that pick right there. Mike White and his team, as talented as it's been, maybe one of the more talented teams they've had in quite a while, probably since the early 2000s when my guy, the coach, it used to be Jim Herrick was there maybe. But Georgia comes in at 10. I'm fine with that. Arkansas 9. I don't want to take too much out of that Tennessee game. The non-shoot around is cowing them. It is what it is. Talented team. They're going to be up and down, I think, this year with this team. I thought they were coming into that Tennessee game playing their best basketball. Maybe they were. But where's guys like Nelly Davis? We need him to step up. It's just a lot to ask a true freshman like Boogie Flan to really take a lot of that load as well. Ole Miss coming in at number 8 for me. I thought they had a nice bounce-back win against a solid Georgia team after getting kind of bullied by Memphis. So give Chris Beard and his team credit. Defense hadn't been as consistent as I like, especially them bringing back Mark Adams, one of his fellow Texas Tech assistants who got the Texas Tech head job when Beard went to Austin, by the way. But he's in Oxford helping them defensively. Maybe that'll improve. But I want to see a little bit more consistency out of Matthew Morrell and Jamin Brakefield as they continue to go. Mississippi State 7, big opportunity for them tomorrow. Going to Memorial, I think people are going to be, man, you're an underdog going in there. Christian's going to have the motivation factor for his Bulldogs. They seem like they have some guys that can really help them across the board there outside of just Josh Hubbard. I like this Mississippi State team. I think they're fighting to get anywhere for that 3 to 5 seed range in the NCAA tournament. So being a top 12 to 20 team in the country, I think that's where they're fighting to be at, and that's where they're ranked right now. Texas A&M, they're going to be that team that concerns me on the road a little bit. That's why this week concerns me with them going to Norman, who I think Oklahoma and Porter Moser, and then will be a little hungry. A&M at home is going to be very similar to Auburn and Tennessee and Alabama, Kentucky. It's going to be hard to win in those places a lot. I think even Mississippi State and Florida, it's going to be hard to win in this league night to night no matter what, folks. But, man, that offensive rebounding, it's just a wild stat. A better offensive rebounding team than a defensive rebounding team. That's really how it's been since Buzz Williams and Wade Taylor have been there. But I just trust them if I know what I'm going to get. So they come in at 6. Florida, I hated drop it. From 3, 4, and 5, I mean, you could shake it up right now and put them – you could go Florida, Kentucky, Alabama. You could go Kentucky, Alabama, Florida. You could swap it out. I really was not discouraged with them at all. I thought that was the sets, the guys making shots, the passes to set up the shots were phenomenal. That was a great offensive game for Florida. I can't drop them too much. I put them at 5. They were 3 last week. Kentucky, they got the win. So I had to move them up right there. Very impressed. I'm worried about the Cats a little bit, though, this week. I don't want them to drop one of those road games. It scares me, though. Back-to-back road games at Georgia, then at Mississippi State. That Mississippi State one really scares me. Alabama coming in at 3, one of the highest ceilings in the sport. Their best all-around game they played Saturday night at home against Oklahoma. And Oklahoma's team's first road game. The line was 12.5. I think we all kind of sniffed this one out, didn't we? I think us ball knowers, as I said at the beginning of the show. Again, we rebranded. This is Dave Knows Ball. Most people that know me, I hate using the term ball knower or non-ball knower. Most people that use that a lot are non-ball knowers, folks. Believe me, people working in the buildings in college football after working in it 9 years, no one ever says they know ball or don't know ball in those buildings. I would venture to say it's the same on the basketball buildings and baseball buildings as well. But Alabama, just a high ceiling. It's just limit turnovers, and they did limit them the other day, and they played defense. And again, they're going to give up points because of their style, but that was their best game across the board. Tennessee at 2. I know AP has them at 1, but the poll, it matters. Dave's SEC basketball power ratings from SEC and Filter has Tennessee at 2. It's just more of a compliment to Auburn being at 1 and how dominant they've been so far. And it's wild because Tennessee's the undefeated team. Auburn has the 1 loss at Cameron Indoor, but I think anybody with 2 eyes would take Auburn right now, wouldn't you, on a neutral floor? Unfortunately, these teams only play once this year, and it's at Neville. I'd like to see it at Thompson-Bowl Arena, but not much to pick from these 2 teams. Tennessee gets a dominant win against Kentucky. Auburn gets a dominant win against Auburn. But that's it right there, guys. 1 through 16 this week's SEC Power Rankings across the board from that one. Let's go. Let's go to the predictions. Let's go to a little predictions. Now, this will be posted tomorrow. This will be posted tomorrow. So, so this is a sneak preview for all 500 of you listening here, folks. There's 500 people listening right now. This is for you. You're going to sneak preview myself and Chris Phillips picks across the board here. I went, 6-2 last week. He went 5-3. No, this was, oh shoot, that's the wrong. Oh, let me remove that one. That was the wrong one for this week. I gotta pull up the other one. Well, I'm not wasting y'all's time. I'm gonna pull up just the one on ESPN. We'll get that one just so we can get these predictions in order for you. Sorry, that was Saturday's one. Dude. Sorry about that, folks. I'll share that screen. All right, here we go, folks. All right, starting tomorrow, Tennessee, 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. Tennessee at Florida. Currently, Tennessee is, what is it in my notes right here? Tennessee is getting 3 points in this one. Favored by 3. Florida in a must-win if they want to stay in the SEC conference. I mean, maybe not mathematically, but you don't want to start off 0-2. Odds are not very good if you're having to do that. I mean, let's call a spade here, folks. I'm going to go Florida. I mean, I think it's going to be hard to win on the road here. Tennessee's due not to play a good game. I think Florida at home is going to shoot well. I love how physical they've played. I love how their guards play. I think at home, Florida gets this win. I mean, no reason, no background for it. I mean, there's a reason why Vegas has them favored as well. I think it's going to be hard to win on the road. I just like Florida in this one. Not going to feel any differently about Tennessee from that perspective. 7 p.m. Eastern on SEC Network. Number 6, Kentucky rolls into Georgia. Kentucky 12-2, 1-0 in league play. Georgia 12-2, 0-1 in SEC play. I'm going to go Georgia, folks. I'm going to go Georgia in this one. Call me crazy, but again, road trips, man. It's going to be tough to win 2 in a row. They go at Georgia, at Mississippi State, back-to-back Bulldogs. I don't know. I think Georgia bounces back. And plays well offensively. I think Kentucky is a little bit of a letdown before they know it's a big one before they go to the hump. This is a big trap game. I think we can get a big upset early on a Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. Give me the Dogs. Give me Mike White and them in the biggest win in the Mike White era at Georgia. 9 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. Auburn at Texas. I think it's just a total mismatch advantage in the front court. I think right now Auburn is favored by – sorry, I meant to tell you, Georgia's favored by 3 in that game against Kentucky. And then Auburn – Auburn is favored by 10, and I told you I'd load up on that. I'd load up on Auburn. The front court, no one's helping Arthur Kaluma out. Caden Shedrick isn't showing up in this game against arguably one of the better front courts in the sport, and Janai Broome, Channing Johnson, and Dylan Cardwell. I like Auburn big in this one. I don't really see a matchup advantage unless Trey Johnson just goes for 30 and goes off, which is possible. But that's what it would take. This is just a bad matchup for Texas. Give me Auburn big. I mentioned Mississippi State at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt currently a 1.5-point favorite. This tips at 9 p.m. Eastern on ESPNU. Mississippi State comes in ranked 14th, 13-1, 1-0 in league play. Vanderbilt the same, 13-1, 1-0 in league play. Not shocking, Vanderbilt's favorite. And this is the game I'm kind of split on, even probably more so than Georgia, Kentucky. Again, I could be wrong. Kentucky could blow the doors off Georgia, and I won't be upset about that pick. You got to go bold a little bit. You got to favor the road team a lot. I'm going to go Mississippi State, though. I just like what Chris Jans and them are doing. I like Josh Hubbard. I like what my guy Clary's been doing. Cam Matthews stepping up. I think this is the first real challenge Vanderbilt had. And I know Vanderbilt fans like to give me how they're like, well, we're the only team that won on the road last week. Well, that was against probably the second worst team in the league, maybe the worst. Because, again, I don't think South Carolina's as bad as they showed against Mississippi State. But if Mississippi State wants to stay in that 3 to 5 range, you need to win this game. Let's just put it that way. I think they get it done. I think it's really close, though. 9 p.m. Eastern on the SEC Network. LSU at Missouri. I said it. LSU has to have this win. So does Missouri. I think Missouri gets it. I don't think LSU's a very good basketball team right now. They just seem lost. It's not going to just change randomly on the road. I think Dennis Gates and the boys are going to be a little more desperate team in here rolling into this one. What did I tell you the line was in this? It is LSU plus 7.5. So Missouri favored by 7.5. So on Tuesday night's action, I like Florida getting the home win against Tennessee, giving the Vols their first loss. I like Georgia in the biggest upset of the day, getting the home win again. I love the home teams against number 6 ranked Kentucky. Auburn big over Texas at the Moody Center. Mississippi State gets a close win at Memorial against a scrappy Vanderbilt team. And I think Missouri's they're going to need this win. I think they get it at home against a struggling LSU team as we stand in this moment right now. And then let's go to just the very next day. There's only 3 on Wednesday, leading off 7 p.m. Eastern on the SEC Network. Number 5, Alabama rolls at 12-2, 1-0 in league play against South Carolina, 10-4, 0-1. No lines out on these games. I know people get fired up the college football lines. They get them that Sunday after, and we got a whole week to talk about it. Well, college basketball usually comes out the night before. But I don't think Alabama's going to see the South Carolina team they saw in Starkville. Nate Oates mentioned that tonight. I saw on his radio show. Again, this is a South Carolina team that beat a solid, probably second, third best team in the ACC, Clemson at home. Granted, I know it was a rivalry game. May see that. Does Nick Pringle, former Bama player, have a fire lit under his ass a little bit and fired up to play this game? I think Bama wins. I don't think it's necessarily overly pretty. I think Bama wins this game something like, it wouldn't shock me if it's like 90-75 or something like that. I think Bama wins. I don't know if they just totally – South Carolina has too much pride. Dennis Gates and them have too much pride in the program. They're not going to go get wally-whopped again like that again. 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. Ole Miss, hey, great win against Georgia. Now you got to go on the road against an Arkansas team who's backed into a corner after getting embarrassed in Knoxville. Congrats, Chris Beard and the boys. But Ole Miss comes in 12-2, 1-0 SEC play. Arkansas, 11-3, 0-1 in SEC play. I like Arkansas to get the bounce-back win at home because they have to. They kind of have to. I don't trust Matthew Morrell and Jamin Brakefield consistently going on the road right now. I'm at to see it to believe it. Give me Arkansas gets a bounce-back win. And then 9 p.m. Eastern on the SEC Network. Maybe one of the more intriguing games of the day, of the midweek. Texas A&M at Oklahoma. A&M comes in 10th, ranked 10th in the country, 12-2, 1-0 in league play. Oklahoma 17th, just took their first loss to Alabama. They're 13-1, 0-1 in league play. I think A&M gets it, though. I just don't know how Oklahoma boxes out outside of Sam Godwin. They have nobody, and he fought his ass off against Alabama the other day. But, again, there's only so much you can do. I mean, outside of that, you got Muhammad Wagee, who couldn't sniff any minutes at Bama and transferred to Oklahoma and plays for him. I think Henry Coleman – Phelps, I think all those guys, Pharrell crashed the boards, dominate the boards again. I think it could be ugly in the first half, but I think Oklahoma, A&M ultimately wins because it's just a bad matchup for Oklahoma. I have concerned about Oklahoma defending as we really get into league play here as it keeps going. That's a big concern of mine right there. So for Wednesday's action, I have Alabama getting a win over South Carolina. I have Arkansas bouncing back to get a win against Ole Miss at home, and then I have – we just literally talked about the game just off the top of my head there. I got Texas A&M beating Oklahoma at home. Even if it's at Lloyd Noble, I don't really care. Just 'cause I don't like the matchup. I just really do not like the matchup there for Oklahoma. But those are the predictions for this week. We will put the graphic out, the right graphic out this time, folks. I apologize, listener. Tomorrow morning for the social media account for the Tuesday matchups, then we'll do Wednesday nights. But had to go a little different, going bold there. Some people may think Florida over Tennessee is bold. I don't. I would agree with you. I think Georgia at home over Kentucky is bold, but I went with it. We got a couple more things to talk about again, guys. We got 17 minutes. You still got 17 minutes with me. Let's go right here. We'll go back to the gridiron here. Not so bad of a week in T-Town, huh? Not too bad, huh? I mean, Alabama got some returners, starters back. Deontay Lawson announced he's coming back after his knee injury. Damani Jackson, corner, says he's coming back. Justin Jefferson got that JUCO waiver, similar to what Diego Pavia got. Defensive lineman, defensive tackle, Tim Keenan decided he's coming back. LT Overton on the edge is coming back. Bama's got some key guys coming back now. So you feel pretty good about the defense. They brought in some good JUCO players. You liked where they were at the end of the season with Kane Womack. So you're fired up about that group heading into the spring of 2025 before the fall season. Jalen Milroe to the NFL since the last time I talked to you, not really surprised. I mean, it's a bad quarterback draft class. He's got to go. Again, that was about as bad as a performance as you could have. Go look at the reaction from the RHOBACK Bowl, Alabama, Michigan, if you missed it last week with myself and Cole Thompson. But that was bad. I mean, Jalen Milroe single-handedly will lose games at times this year for Alabama when you factored his fumbles, interceptions. But off to the NFL, not shocking. Ryan Grubb got fired today. By Mike McDonald. In Seattle, it just didn't work out. I mean, it wasn't anything really bad. I mean, it really wasn't anything bad. It sounded like they had a disagreement on the offense, and it kind of is what it is. So I don't really – I mean, does he come back to Alabama? That's the point of me bringing this up. Mike McDonald's just went a different way. I mean, Geno Smith was real complimentary of Ryan Grubb across the board. Remember, Ryan Grubb was in Tuscaloosa for a couple of weeks. Nick Saban offered him the job 2 years ago. He's had opportunities to come back to Tuscaloosa. Is this the time? I don't know. Do they move Nick Sheridan over a little bit? That could be in the works. I don't know. But if Alabama wanted to hire him, they could because he's unemployed right now. But Seattle let him go after 1 year there. Be an interesting move there. I don't really have any intel or anything like that. Sounds like just a little disagreement on the direction of the offense. Geno Smith, again, said he made him a better quarterback after the season. The Seahawks weren't bad. It just could have been a little better. So, I mean, maybe it works out for both parties here, but be on the lookout potentially seeing him go to Alabama. Bama's departures, Elijah Pritchett, the right tackle. Yeah, with offensive line play not being great, folks, you never really want to lose tackles that have experience, but God, he was definitely the blinking Christmas light this year out of those 5. And when I say blinking Christmas light, the obvious problem out there where it was obvious what was going on. Could they find an upgrade? Yeah. You also could maybe have a lower floor. I don't know. You lost Jeremiah Alexander as well, an outside linebacker, King Mack at safety spot who came over from Penn State. And then the German native, Justin Okunrokwo, transfers as well. Transfers in for Bama, wide receiver Isaiah Horton, offensive tackle for Ball State, Arkel Engelum, offensive lineman Cam Dewberry from Texas A&M, defensive lineman from Florida, Kelby Collins, linebacker from Colorado, Nikhil Hill-Green, and Cameron Calhoun as well. Maybe add a running back transfer in Jalen Washington from Louisiana as well. So Bama shouldn't have lost Michigan, probably the worst loss they had this year in their 9-4 season. But the week could have been worse, especially on defense. You got a lot of good news. You got a lot of continuity left. I thought the inside linebacker spot may be bad. I mean, because you were thinking, well, you're going to lose Jahad Campbell, who did announce, Deontay Lawson potentially, and then Justin Jefferson. You're like, dude, they're going to replace everybody. Well, now 2 of those 3 guys are back. Now, I don't know Deontay Lawson's status for the spring. That'll be interesting from that perspective there. But Bama, it's a lot of good news, again, heading into the 2025 season. Georgia announces they get Christian Miller back, their defensive lineman, so that's big for them. Again, this has been a spot they've been trying to develop. They hadn't been able to replace Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. And let me stop myself there. Like that's not easy to do now. It's not easy to do that, but they've been waiting for those big interior disruptors because those guys don't grow on trees, and they don't go into the portal because you know what, folks? Their current programs, organizations, paid Mr. Benjamin Franklin to keep them. That's why Walter Nolans don't go in the portal every year. They also pick up the brother duo of Zachariah Branch at the receiver spot from USC and get a depth, winnable minus type guy, Zion Branch, his brother, safety. They're both from USC. Georgia's been dying for an explosive playmaker at the wide receiver spot, really probably since Mecole Hardman and Isaiah McKenzie. I mean, who's the best wide receiver at Georgia since Kirby Smart's been there? Consistently, it's got to be Ladd McConkey, right? And he was explosive in its own right. I mean, hell, him and Brock Bowers are up for the NFL Rookie of the Year. But Zachariah Branch brings that different kind of go-go juice where it's, yeah, you could be a little combo. You watch him move a little bit of the American Heritage signees that we signed when I was at Georgia, and Isaiah McKenzie and Sonny Michel. Obviously not as thick as Sonny Michel, but they got the same movement skills when you add Isaiah McKenzie. A little bit of a hybrid there. And then Damon Wilson, outside linebacker, who we thought was going to have a big season, really was coming back. I thought it was kind of strange he left. I mean, he ended up having – I'm pulling up his stats. He actually had a pretty good year. I mean, yeah, 6'4", 22 tackles, 3 sacks, 2 years of eligibility left. He'll be one of the more higher paid guys in the portal just off necessity. People are always looking for people who can affect the quarterback, not just sacks. Remember, guys, just affecting the quarterback is not a sack. He can help that. With Georgia, I'd like to keep him. Maybe you see them go counter. That could happen too, folks. That happens maybe probably right now as we're speaking. Kirby Smart, Mark Robinson, the DFO. Forget what's his name. The guy used to be the compliance guy at Tennessee. I'm talking to you. Hibbs. He's over the Grove, the Classic City Collective in Georgia. Good guy. I mean, they're probably on the phone working that out right now with Damon Wilson. So we'll be interested. Want to bring that up from a Georgia perspective. And then finally, wanted to bring up kind of what are we going to be talking about this time next year, folks? What are we going to be talking about in the SEC this time next year? There's no answer. I just wanted to kind of float that out there. We're going to be talking coaching changes. Sam Pittman will be on a hot seat. Brent Venables will be on a hot seat. Hugh Freeze will be on a hot seat. Billy Napier will be on a hot seat. Then you get into guys kind of like in that next level where next year's a big year for them. Jeff Levy can't go 2-10 next year. Kalen DeBoer needs to get to the playoffs. Brian Kelly needs to go to the playoffs after calling his NIL shot. Do Sark Kiffin test the NFL waters? How many – look, there were no coaching changes this offseason. that mean a tidal wave avalanche next year? Not necessarily, but just for conversation purpose, I like to talk it out. We got a lot of that, guys. It's kind of funny. We got those tiers. You got 1, 2, you got about 4 guys in the, hey, must have next year. Sam Pittman, Brent Venables, Hugh Freeze, Billy Napier. Then you got, hey, probably not going to fire you after this year, next year, guys, but we better see some improvement. It's a big year. It's, hey, walk the flank, or hey, you could stay on the ship here, boys. Jeff Levy, Kalen DeBoer, and Brian Kelly. And then Sark Kiffin, potentially an NFL opportunity. Then players, what's the quarterbacks look like in 25? Is Lenore Sellers back? Is Arch Manning back? Is Nico Iamaleava back? Sorry, Tennessee fans. He was this close to leaving Tennessee. I talked to someone today, very close to the family. He's not a fan of what's going on over there. Will he be back in 26 in Knoxville? Probably not. Maybe he enters the draft. I just know things aren't great right now. Gunnar Stockton, he'll be back. John Mateer, the Oklahoma quarterback, coming in with Ben Arbuckle. Both of them coming from Washington State. They're going to have a big say on Brent Venables' tenure in Norman. Who leaves? Who stays? DJ Lagway's got to stay. Just some interesting perspective from that perspective. Like, what are we talking about this time next year as we sit here on January 6, 2026? And now it could be over a month now. We got some new coaches rolling in. That's true. Because inevitably, somebody's leaving on their own. Somebody's getting fired. I mean, over or under. 3.5 new coaches heading into 2026. Is that fair? Is that fair? I mean, I'm being dead serious. Is that fair, guys? And then finally, what would we be talking that the SEC has a coordinator problem heading into 2026? And what I mean by that, remember when I'm 35. I was born in 1989. I don't know how old all 500 of you people are. And I appreciate you listening. And guys, before I continue going, go like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. The SEC Unfiltered channel, best SEC entity in the land, football, basketball, and baseball. But what happened to the day? And again, a lot of it's continuity. Everyone's bouncing around now. The players get a lot of flack for bouncing around, but the coaches do it all the time too, every 2 to 3 years. These players don't even have the same position coach if they stay at the same school. But like, remember Will Muschamp, I felt, was at LSU and Auburn and was with Nick Saban for a long time. Bo Pelini was at LSU with Les Miles for a long time. Charlie Strong with Urban Meyer for a long time. Kirby Smart with Nick Saban at LSU, the Dolphins in Alabama for a long time. John Chavis, I'm naming old coaches. Tennessee at LSU there. Dave Aranda at LSU for a while. Offensively, I'm really getting in my bag here. Jimbo Fisher, when he was at LSU, was named the head coach in waiting when he went and took over the OC spot with Bobby Bowden in Tallahassee before he got the head job. Gus Malzahn, OC for Cam Newton at Auburn, and at Arkansas with Mitch Mustain and them, and Darren McFadden, Felix Jones under Houston Nutt. Dan Mullen was with Urban Meyer all those years at Utah and Florida. David Cutcliffe with Philip Fulmer and the Mannings. I mean, Eli was the head coach, but with Peyton, he was the assistant coordinator. And guys like Cliff Kingsbury, I know he's only there texting him. What happened to kind of those big-time coordinators? We don't get that anymore. That's not a shot at any of the coordinators out there now. It's just like we're kind of going young. I think more head coaches, at least offensive guys, call their offense for the most part. I mean, Lane Kiffin can tell me what he wants to tell me, but he's definitely involved in that. Sark's involved in that. You didn't have that really back then. Now it's kind of like A.J. Milwee, the OC, Charlie Weiss Jr., the OC, kind of like the right-hand man to the offensive coordinator who is the offensive mind is kind of what it is a little bit right now. And I was talking to somebody on the phone today about the Nico Iamaleava thing, and we brought it up. I was like, man, I'm going to bring that up on the show tonight. Like, why don't we used to know those OCs like that. Brent Venables used to be a long time just decent. I mean, obviously, he got the head job at Oklahoma. Nobody's turning that down. No one blames him. I'm just bringing it up. It's just interesting conversation. We don't have those long haul guys, and I get it. Guys aren't staying. Like, it used to be staff continuity. You may lose 1-2 guys every 2 years. Now you don't have the same 11 full-time coaches, the head coach and 10 assistants year to year anymore. It's almost impossible. No way. You're fired up if you have your head coach and 3 coordinators, offense, defense, special teams back. That's considered continuity now. So some of that's it. But man, just remember how like big time those names were. As coordinators going. The only one you can really think about now is kind of like, Glenn Schumann, who's kind of been like Kirby Smart to Nick Saban for Kirby. I mean, it's kind of what it is a little bit there. So just wanted to bring that up. I mean, I guess Dan Lanning was the last kind of sexy coordinator, got a big time head coaching job, and he's kind of taken Oregon up that next notch. I just wanted to talk about that, guys. But man, got you out of here in 55 minutes, folks. I hope you had just as much fun as I have. I've had a blast. bringing you this episode. Again, guys, we rebranded. It is now Dave Knows Ball. We talked a lot. Talked keys to the Cotton Bowl. Texas offensive line's got to hold up. Defensive line has to have the game of the season, and I believed in them all year. But Texas wins. It's going to be because of Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton. Got to affect Will Howard. It's not about the sacks. Just get on his feet, make him uncomfortable. If he plays the way he's played the last 2 games, no one will beat them. And then Quinn Ewers, do you trust him with the game on the line? Is it too much pressure for Sark to scheme up perfect plays? That's got to be a question. SEC basketball weekend review. John Calipari, does the shoot-around matter? We made my SEC midweek prediction picks in basketball on the Tuesday and Wednesday night games. Went over my power rankings for this week. Not everything's bad in Tuscaloosa, guys. They got a lot of great news, a lot of guys coming back, a lot of continuity. I just used that word on defense for the Crimson Tide. Offensively, Ryan Grubby finally coming back for this 3rd time. His 3rd time the charm. Georgia loses to Mon Wilson, but they get an explosive threat and his brother in Zachariah Branch and Zion Branch. And then, what do we talk about in the SEC next year? How many coaches are back? What quarterbacks are kind of taking that next step or going on to the NFL? Just a lot of question marks. And then does the SEC have a coordinator problem? We don't have those big, sexy offensive, defensive coordinator names we used to have in the late 90s, early 2000s, mid 2000s anymore. It's really like Glenn Schumann's kind of the name you think about. But, man, that was fun, guys. A good 56 minutes. Again, guys, I'm your host, Dave Shumate, bringing you Dave Knows Ball every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern and every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Again, I'm your head college basketball analyst. I'll be reacting every night of college basketball, Tuesday, Wednesday, and the Saturdays, as you saw, as I linked in there, guys. And again, we got college football content bleeding out the eyeballs heading into this Cotton Bowl matchup between Texas and Ohio State in Arlington, guys. But for myself, Dave Shumate, I appreciate you joining us. I love bringing you this. Guys, go like, subscribe, hit that notification bell before you go to bed tonight. The road to 20,000 by January 20th. I'm holding you people accountable. Holding all 600 of you accountable. But, hey, appreciate you joining us tonight, guys. You have a phenomenal rest of your evening.